In this little video, I want to talk to you about specificity and sensitivity as you conduct your literature search. I have an analogy for thinking about this, and it might help you think about how you find specific information. What does it mean to be specific, and what does it mean to be sensitive? So let's pretend that you live in a beautiful house, okay, that you own, and you're going to leave this house for a little while and go on vacation. So you decide that the safest thing to do would be to install a security camera. So you go ahead, and yes, the drawings are not to scale, and I understand that, but humor me here. You put your security cameras on, and they are triggered to capture things that come towards your house. Unfortunately for you, what happens is the big trees near your house tend to shake in the wind, and then they tend to drop leaves. The leaves trigger your camera, trigger your images, and perhaps because it has a motion sensing apparatus to it, it tells you, it signals an alarm. Clearly that's not someone breaking into your house. So you decide, well, this is clearly not sufficient. I'm going to do something else. So then you set up a contact system on your door, which gets triggered if someone were to go ahead and push the door open or push your windows open. Maybe you have motion sensing there. Now, all of a sudden, the way you've set your alarm up is not only do you have to have the camera triggered, you also need the door to be open or broken in for the alarm to trigger. When you had the camera alone, it was very sensitive, but it was not specific. By adding a second component for filtration, such as the door alarm, all of a sudden your detection system has become more specific. Well, what happens if it's a windy day and the wind pushes your door? That'll set alarms off too, even though that's not technically a break-in. So now you decide that, well, I have a camera and I have a contact sensor on my door, but I'm going to put motion sensors inside my house. So let's pretend that's a little motion sensor. And now you're on a beautiful vacation in the Bahamas or the Cayman Islands, and the camera is triggered, the door is triggered, but the motion sensor is not. So despite the fact that the wind has been blowing against your door and moving it, since nobody's actually come inside the house, you don't actually get an alarm. Telling you that there's been a break-in and you have to call the police. So this is what it means to be sensitive, which means you capture all the information, but you capture that which is relevant. So that's what it means to be specific. So in your search engines, one of the things that you do is you add more search terms or keywords to make your search more sensitive and specific. You don't want to lose information because that would be a loss of sensitivity, but you also don't want to get irrelevant information because that would make everything non-specific. Now, if you were to draw yourself a little grid here, and say you had a pretend topic, let's say nutritional planning for diabetic older adults, okay? So when you're going to search with these two key terms, if we were to assume that this side represents everything you find on diabetes, and this side you find everything that deals with nutritional information, nutritional planning, you're going to find several pieces of research that include nutritional planning and diabetes. You're going to find several of those. You're going to find several papers that include diabetes but do not include nutritional planning. You're going to find several papers that have nutritional planning but not diabetes. And then you're going to find several papers that tangentially touch upon both but not really relevant to anything. So your priority would be to pick papers in this little square here, this little box, because that's the most relevant to you. It's not that the papers that you find were related just to diabetes and just to nutritional planning alone are not useful. You might be able to make correlations between different pieces of work here, but really for the purposes of your literature review and your practice, it is this very first box that will be of most use to you.